To start this video, I will ask the question: why fight against nature? Why fight against the natural outcome of progression? This is the question that Dutch Van der Linde asks at the end of Red Dead Redemption 1. The greatest motive of the Dutch Van der Linde gang is fighting against the natural progression of the world, rebelling against the outbreak of civilization, and in doing so becoming outlaws. With being chased to the brink of extinction, the gang lurks in the outskirts of civilization. Their leader, Dutch Van der Linde, has a maxim that is to find its supposed role in the world, and with utilizing it becoming one of the most wanted outlaws in the West. And that is with being placed on Earth, one has to fight for his own beliefs. He is an idealist, clinging to the works of those that came before him, thinking that the only way to salvation is through following through with these idealistic beliefs and shaping the world accordingly.
Himself and found only appetites.
And as a consequence, that lets you take what you please, kill whom you please, and hang the rest of us?
Red Dead Redemption 2 begins with the backdrop that the age of outlaws is gone, and that the Wild West, once serving as a haven for ultimate freedom, is to crumble into civilization's hands. With the law on the neck of the gang, after failing a heist in Blackwater, the gang flees into the mountains to stay low there for a while. After a given time, ultimately and essentially anarchic, the gang chooses to rob Leviticus Cornwall, a millionaire industrialist, representing that which Dutch or the gang wants to fight against. Throughout the game, the gang's way of ultimately waging war against Cornwall's army is the outlaw conflict in a nutshell. This David and Goliath mindset infiltrating the whole structure of the gang's autonomy, fighting for a lost cause, fighting against that which is established. The end of the Time of Outlaws defines the time in which population growth and the rise of technology took place, and with this, the necessary stabilitator that came in evoking a clear state, one defined by laws, and in ultimately building a new world. One which the gang does not agree with, or perhaps under Dutch's spell are not willing to acknowledge. Through this, the gang is in the large minority, and ultimately stand no chance at all in actually winning the war in which they are partaking. But the game is set up to tell a story. And with that comes magnifying their power, in that they are protected by how the story is set up. The gang evades gunfire and survives situations ultimately not going in their favor. On top of this, you have the protagonist, Arthur Morgan, this form of, let's be honest, a superhuman, ultimately able to withstand large amounts of damage and dealing tons. Of course, this is necessary in catalyzing the story, with this actually being a game, but there is some form of intellectual symbiosis present there between the message and the gameplay. Hosea Matthews is the ultimate stabilitator in the gang, making them cling to reason and to some degree a set of morals, which then hinders the gang from, or differentiates it from just being a bunch of merciless outlaws, outright criminals in all its meanings. Hosea recognized that the age of outlaws was ending, and that the gang had to at a certain point compromise with their actions and find some way around their previous methods of operating. Jumping forward to the bank heist in the Saint Denis chapter, Hosea Matthews dies being shot down by the law, which ultimately symbolizes the death of what the gang used to believe in, and applying double morals and ultimately antagonizing the lawmen, which proves Hosea's beliefs, with dying proving that he lived a life of meaning, with believing that things could be seen from multiple angles. This antagonizing from the lawman's side, viewing Hosea as just a bad guy, makes themselves the antagonists and probably just fueled the Dutch's anger, not mentioning the fact that he lost a good friend and a partner in crime. Throughout the game, the biggest anticlimax is the underplayed assassination of Leviticus Cornwall, ultimately signifying the making of Dutch the new antagonist in the game. At this point, the gang is split up between the so-called followers of Dutch and those that question him. After this, we are getting very close to the ending of the game, and I'm going with the good ending of the game for this video and using it as canon, in that it is the most symbolic ending and signifies the proper message of the game, and makes it live up to the title, that being Redemption or Red Dead Redemption. Michael Bell plays the part of, to a certain extent, vindicating that which the gang stands against: conformism. Michael lives to his own code of actually winning by gaining momentary wealth, and does in that extent conform to Dutch's vision, ultimately licking his boots and serving as someone who is useful in utilizing power in order for Dutch to actually partake in his war against the establishment, which turns to some extent Dutch into those he fights against, which the gang to some degree can immediately sense, or at least half of them. The gang splits up, arguably due to the death of the voice of reason being Hosea Matthews being out of the loop. This is affecting Dutch, making his idealistic rhetoric lose its stabilitator, making Dutch's idealism turn outright evil. He believes he has become the voice of reason in the world. Led by indifference to his methods, believing his actions are justified, turns him into the ultimate antagonist, someone who believes he is the Messiah, and someone who uses reckless methods in utilizing his vision. Arthur Morgan plays the role of a catalyst in terms of bringing forward the actual voice of reason that slowly but surely evolves, becoming the most enlightened of all the gang members when being faced with impending death. This is where the redemption aspect of the game comes forward, and the overall theme of the franchise, which is that when a character is faced with adversity, the inner human inside of him will awake and funnel toward the integration of the truth that is meant to be viewed. In Red Dead Redemption 1, it is the ultimate redemption of John's death, and in Red Dead Redemption 2, it is the awakening thought that one has to be able to rise above adversity, and with acknowledging barriers or walls and with facing them, find ultimate truth.